Welcome, everyone. We're so excited to have you here. And this is a representation of my presentation from General Assembly. It's entitled Growing Membership Through Creating Connection. My name is Laura Schrenk. My pronouns are she, her. And I am a white woman in my late 40s with gray streaked brown hair. I'm wearing an orange and blue patterned jumper, and I have a geometric necklace on. I don't know if you can see it, that has turquoise and blue stones. So I'll just go ahead and get started. I began my journey in member engagement 3.5 years ago as a 15-hour-a-week membership coordinator at the Unitarian Universalist Church of Annapolis. As our congregation has grown, so has the scope of my role. Today, I serve as the Director of Member Engagement, working 25 hours a week to help deepen connections within our community. I'm also grateful to have the support of an assistant whose hours have just increased to 25 hours per week. That just started on July 1st. And so that's allowed us to expand our impact even further. In addition to my work at UUCA, I'm honored to be stepping into a new role as a board member of UUAMP. For those of you who don't know what UUAMP is, it's the Unitarian Universalist Association of Membership Professionals. And if you are on this training, I highly recommend that you join the group. It's a wonderful resource, and it's a great way to find support and connect and have deeper conversations about membership. So I'm excited to be a part of the board and to contribute to the broader movement to help grow welcoming, inclusive, thriving UU communities. So I felt called to present at GA this year because something really remarkable is happening at UUCA. Over the past year alone, we've welcomed 88 new members, bringing our total active membership to 504. Remarkably, 218 of those members, 43% of our congregation, have joined in the past 3.5 years since I began my work in membership at UUCA. It's been an extraordinary time of growth, connection, and renewed energy in our community. I want to acknowledge that the growth we've experienced at UUCA is not mine alone to claim. It truly takes a village, and I'm so grateful for mine. To Reverend John Crestwell, our incredible senior minister and executive, thank you for trusting me, encouraging my creativity, and giving me the freedom to bring bold ideas to life. To Sarah Devlin Tremble, our Director of Faith Formation, your passion for innovation and commitment to bringing best practices to our community continuously inspire me.
Let's take care. Bye.
To Ryan Ely, our intern minister, who has inspired, challenged, and shown up for our congregation in so many ways. Wherever you end up, Ryan, they will be so very lucky to have you. And to our dedicated staff, volunteers, and congregants, thank you for all you do to make UUCA a place people want to call home. You, my Annapolis family, are the heart of this work. You are the magic behind our growth. This presentation is a love letter to all of you. If there's anyone who's not on mute, if you can mute your microphones, that would be great. Or Ryan, can you mute everyone?
Maybe an hour and a half.
And Ryan, can you go to the next slide, please? I want to take a moment to lift up some people who have truly shaped my work. I'm an ideas person. I love dreaming them up, collecting them, and trying them out. Some of the most meaningful ideas I've implemented have come from generous colleagues across our wider UU movement. One major inspiration was the Radical Welcome as a catalyst for congregational growth video that was created by the Unitarian Universalist Congregation of Atlanta. I will share that video with you. There will be a connection card at the end of this, and if anyone is interested in that video, I can share a link to it for you. It's a wonderful video. I highly recommend you watch it. And that was created by Reverend Terrence Strauss and Shay Stewart Willis at the UU Congregation of Atlanta. I've worked intentionally over the years to bring many of the suggestions from their training to life, and I'm especially grateful for their inspiration. I'm also incredibly thankful to Jen Gill, who is here today on our Zoom call. She's the Connections Coordinator at the UU Fellowship of Redwood City. Jen facilitates the UU AMP Monday Chats, where volunteers and membership professionals from across the country gather to share ideas, offer support, and collectively solve problems. I try really hard to participate in the Monday Chats. And so if you want to continue the conversation of any of the topics that we talk about here, please join us for the Monday Chats. They're a wonderful chance to connect. And huge thanks to Kelly Green, the Director of Member Relations at the UU Community of Charlotte, and the UU board member. Kelly generously shared her welcome training materials with me and gave me permission to share them with all of you. So thank you to all of those folks who have inspired me. And also, I wanted to lift up that some of the ideas that I'll be sharing with you today come from a book that's called Fusion by Nelson Searcy. So ideas like the connection card, sending a welcome gift, things like that are adapted from this book. Nelson Searcy is an evangelical Christian minister, and while the book does contain the perspective, an evangelical Christian perspective, the core strategies are solid and easily adaptable to Unitarian Universalist context. So I highly recommend this book. Carrying on. So this training is thinking about first-time visitors and how do we help to turn first-time visitors into engaged members of our congregation. And the way that we do this is through connection. Connection is the answer. Membership isn't about numbers. It isn't about money or metrics. It's about people. Visitors come to our churches because they're looking for something. They're carrying a hope, a need, a question. Maybe they missed the sense of community they had felt in a faith that now no longer matches their values. Maybe they're feeling isolated or lonely and are longing for connection. Maybe they're scared or disempowered and are seeking a community that gives them courage. Or maybe they're yearning to organize with like-hearted partners to dismantle oppressive systems and fight fascism. Whatever brings them through our doors, our calling is to meet them with love, to know them, and to help them refill their cups. To illustrate what this work looks like in real life, I've gathered stories from new congregants at UUCA, stories of connection, belonging, and transformation, because again, membership is about people. So let me introduce you to some of our people. Meet Becca.
I came to UUCA because I was looking for a church community. I grew up Catholic and was very involved in high school church youth group, and I was the president of the Catholic club in college. And then I was looking for a church community that kind of fit my beliefs more where I am now in life. And I made a list of churches in the area and was going to try one church per month until I found one that I disliked the least. And UUCA was the first one on my list. I don't know why. And I walked into UUCA and I truly felt that this was home. When I walked in, there was someone in the parking lot who was greeting me and showing me where to go. And then I walked up to the main church and there was someone making name tags and introducing me, helping me, showing me where to sit, kind of showing me where the bathrooms were and everything. And that just, it definitely felt like it was a welcoming community where I could just be. And I remember going home to my husband and just raving about this church. I was like, I found the church, and this is the very first church that I tried on my list, and this is the church where I want to be. So I'm grateful to have found the church, and I'm grateful to be part of it. I've been participating pretty quickly in chalice circles, which are small groups to talk about different themes throughout the months, one theme per month. And I have been participating in like a Wednesday get together where new members can connect and talk to each other. And yeah, I like that the church is about building connections and building community, and that's what I was looking for, and that's what I found here. So I'm very grateful.
So when your focus is on building authentic connections, membership growth just happens naturally. Someone once asked me, Laura, how do you convince so many people to join the church? My answer is I don't. If I have to convince someone to join the church, they are not ready to join. When a prospective member starts explaining why they haven't joined, I always say, you'll join when you feel called to. You're already part of our beloved community, whether or not you decide to become an official member. So One thing that it's important to remember that visitors and prospective members are just as vital and important to our congregations as someone who's been at the church for many years. While official membership comes with some benefits like voting in congregational meetings and holding leadership roles, non-members are welcome and encouraged to participate fully in every other way. You might be wondering, if a prospective member can be so involved without officially joining, why would they choose to become members? The answer is simple, because they love this community and they want to see it thrive. Let's hear from Elsa, one of our prospective members, about what brought her to UUCA and what's kept her coming back.
Good morning. My name is Elsa, and I have been looking for a church. I've been church shopping for a long time, and one day just ran into this church down the street, and I came, and I think I have found a home. The entire congregation is very welcoming. I have felt like I belong here to a greater extent than I felt welcome at the church I grew up in and participated in for many years. The welcome that I received was open-armed and kind and generous, and I just feel like I'm a part of this congregation. I love the connection card. It shows ongoing concern for me as an individual, as for everybody else. And the people are just, well, the best thing I can say is that they always smile at you when you get here, and you just feel like you're a part of this group. So I just have a positive, very positive feeling while I'm here, and I go home feeling comforted and energized to face the rest of my life.
So I'll begin by listing the core elements that help create connection, and then we'll walk you through how we bring those to life at UUCA. While I list them out here, they don't happen in strict order. In fact, many of them are happening simultaneously in a dynamic and organic way. So the keys to creating connection, the first is radical welcoming. So we create connection through being radically welcoming. We create connection through showing people we care. And I'm going to elaborate on how we do these things in our congregation. Through centering building relationships, through inviting, and through making it easy to get involved. And so you'll notice some of these elements as you hear from Ariana sharing about her experience at the church.
My name is Ariana, and I've been coming to UUCA since about September of 2024. Simply put, I was looking for a community. In my past attempts with various meetups and events over the years, I found that it was very easy to just lay low and observe quietly. Just on my first visit to UUCA, I very quickly realized that that was not possible here. With a smiling face greeting me in the parking lot, Laura just inside the door spending a few quick minutes to connect and welcome me, and the encouragement to greet your neighbor at the end of each service. I was also very quickly exposed to many different avenues to connect, explore my interests, and utilize my energy for activism through Gen XYZ meetup, community-wide chalice circles, and participation in our local Pride festivities, for example. This is a community that wants to get to know you, that wants to share their thoughts, ideas, and compliments with you, and that encourages you and gives you the confidence to share yours. I learned and continue to learn what it means to be radically welcoming.
So the following quote really illustrates how these elements of creating connection come together and the opportunity that we have when people are coming into our congregations.
Whenever someone new comes through our doors, we have a unique opportunity. Entering into relationship allows us to listen and to be transformed by their stories and experiences. In community, we all share the amazing responsibility to create space in which everyone can be seen, heard, and affirmed. As we welcome others into our spiritual home, consider that we all have gifts to share, gifts that might lead our community through beautiful growth and transformation. Let us engage in this practice of welcoming with an open, curious spirit. Adapted from India McKnight.
So, as you're thinking about folks and visitors and congregants alike coming into your congregation, reflect on how do you want people to feel when they come into your UU congregation. So we want people to feel important, oriented, safe, accepted. We want them to feel belonging, that they're valued, that they're cared for, they're special, they're worth knowing, and that they're appreciated. And all of these feelings together, this is what it feels to be radically welcomed. So radical welcoming is kind of a buzzy term right now, but what does it really mean? What makes radical welcoming radical? So you can warmly welcome someone, you can give them information, show them their seat, and you can welcome them. But being radically welcoming takes it to another level. It's centering a commitment to relationship building. Being radically welcoming is actively working to know and include everyone. It's creating a sense of belonging and community where people feel safe and comfortable being their authentic selves. So meet Kara and listen for how radical welcome has made her feel.
Hi, I'm Kara. Just this morning I was thinking about how rare it is to find a place where you can be your whole self and represent all of your identities. And I came to the UU in Annapolis in November after the election, looking for a place where I could find community and also a place where I could give back to the community. And I've found that it is also a place where I can show up as my whole self, as a queer woman, as a federal employee, as someone trying to build a family. All of these aspects of me are welcome here. And now 7 months later, I do feel like I've found that community. I'm a member and I am able to give back through various aspects of the church. So I'm just so pleased to have found my people.
So engaging a visitor starts with a positive first impression. In his book, Fusion, Nelson Serisi says, 7 minutes is all you get to make a positive first impression. The first 7 minutes of contact with your church, in that first 7 minutes, your first-time guests will know whether or not they're coming back. That's before a single worship song is sung and before a single word of the message is uttered. So in that first 7 minutes, people are already deciding if this is a place for them, if your church is a place for them. So how can we make the most of these first 7 minutes? What I share with you today, I hope sparks ideas for you. I'm sure there are things that you're already doing in your congregations. There are potentially and surely things that you're doing even better than we are. So I hope that you take these ideas. I'd also love to get additional ideas. I think that part of participating with the UU AMP Monday Chats is a chance for us to collaborate and co-create what this radically welcoming and connecting church community looks like. So the focus is really just how can we make people feel welcomed, feel known, feel cared for, invited, and engaged in those first 7 minutes, but then also throughout their interactions with your church community. So the first thing that you can do to help prepare for those 7 minutes is by getting ready for your visitors and prepare your environment. I think this is the difference between studying for a test and just trying to wing it. Use the time you have before visitors even arrive to get ready for them and prepare your spaces. So thoughtfully create spaces that reflect your UU values and show you care. So let's hear from Ruthie about how the prepared spaces spoke to her when she first came to our church.
I had spent a long time, basically since I left home at 18, feeling pretty disconnected from organized religion or organized spirituality. And it took me some years to figure out that the big disconnect was feeling as if like faith or spirituality did not tie to like real life. There was church life and there was everything else. And I started getting this feeling that I wanted to try looking. I started to get indications that maybe there were organizations out there that put the things together, that church life was regular life and faith and spirituality was infused with my regular life. And I searched, because I had come to the Unitarian Universalist Church some years ago here in Annapolis for an event, and I searched it and looked it up. And though the website actually was what gave me the confidence to come, like the clear statement of the values and the principles and what they stood for, gave me enough confidence to show up. And then once I stepped through the door, it was just a lot of welcoming, and just everything was just very clear, like all the principles. And not only were they on the walls, but they were in the program. You could see like, oh, these are what we were doing for, after hour and middle hour, and seeing the church organizing into groups that were actually taking those principles and values and acting on them. That was a big reason that made me want to come back the second week. And it was during the second week that, in addition to building on those connections that I felt like I had made even just the first week, and people remembering who I was, I had a chance to speak with the person in charge of faith formation here to figure out what my kids might be learning if I felt like I could bring them here. And by the time they were done explaining that to me, I wanted to go through the faith formation program. It was everything I wished I could have experienced as a kid, that I kind of ended up building for myself as an adult. And so I was very excited the third week I came back to bring my kids and show them this place that I felt like we could all learn and grow and develop community and continue coming back. And one of my favorite pieces has been the community chalice circles that we do once a month, where we get to meet up and discuss the theme, and our small group conversations with people maybe I didn't know before, but we kind of share like an intimate moment and some intimate energy, and has definitely carried over into attending any other aspect of church, whether it's service on Sundays or other groups. So that's why I came, and that's why I came back.
So Ruthie actually she joined in 2024, and she actually just became one of our board members at our last congregational meeting, which is kind of awesome. So I'm going to go through some pictures now of our church to show you some of how we've prepared our environment for our visitors, and I'll just kind of run through and explain to you what you're seeing here. So first, signage is really important. I actually think signage is a growing edge for us. We could have better signage, but right when you come in, there are signs to orient you, and we also have our values on display with our Black Lives Matter sign. We are showing we care through having lots of handicapped parking spaces for people who have mobility needs. So right in front, right by the front door, there's probably 12 handicap spaces. As you enter our church, we have a big piece of art. You can't really see how large this is, but it's probably about 6 or 7 feet in diameter. And it says, whoever you are, wherever you're from, whoever you love, you're welcome here. So it's right there, right in your face when you walk in the door. It's sharing our values. We also have a wonderful Fiber Arts Fellowship group that has made all of these different quilts. This is just a little collage I made, but they made all these different quilts that share our values, and they are hung all over our church. So as you walk through all the halls, both upstairs and downstairs, you see these words that are just affirming our values: love, belonging, unity, gratitude. There's tons and tons of them in our church, but it's just telling people right up front who we are and what is important to us. Also, the names of our rooms lift up movements and people who we honor. So we have a Black Lives Matter room. We have the Piscataway room that honors the Native people whose land our church is on. The UU Sisterhood room, among others. And then we also have a collage on one of our walls. It's kind of like an art installation that shows our community of communities. So we did work with Paula Cole-Jones, and this was inspired by her work, but it shows all the different groups and how they're kind of interconnected and working in the church community. We also have a space that's dedicated to welcoming. So I'm sure many of you have this place where people can get name tags, where they can get information. There's also little flyers for inviting them to upcoming events like a coffee that we do. And then this is just a picture of our coat closet, but in showing people we care and we're thinking about them, in the coat closet, we have coat racks for that are higher for taller people. And there's also a little low coat rack there for the smaller people. And I also put in a mirror in our coat closet because people wanted a place where they could look to make sure their name tag was on properly or fix their hair. So just little touches that are showing we're thinking about our congregants. There are spaces in our atrium area that are set up to be conversational to encourage people to chat with one another. So this is one space, and here's another space that's just set up in a conversational way. And then we also even have like a little cell phone charger there. So these are just those little details that are showing caring, that we're thinking about what our congregants' needs might be. In thinking about needs, we also really work hard to create accessible spaces. So we do have mobility accommodations. We have an elevator in our church because our church does have 2 floors. We have priority seating in the sanctuary. So these are chairs that have arms on them, and they are located on the aisles. And they have a little special cushion to make it a little cushy. They have these little signs, and these are for people. It's really self-selecting if you'd like to sit in a priority seating seat. It could be for a parent with a child. It could be with somebody who has a mobility issue or an injury. But it's just saving some of those chairs, because sometimes folks need the arms to be able to push up, to stand up properly, like easily. So we're not really monitoring who sits in these seats, but we are reserving some of those seats to make sure that folks who need chairs like that have them available. In our bathrooms as well, we have trans-inclusive language for our bathrooms. We provide feminine products and contraception in the bathrooms, just to show that we're thinking of what people's needs might be. And there's also hotline numbers listed in the bathrooms in case anyone needs those. Downstairs, we have a kind of a family gender neutral bathroom, and it has a space where if someone wants to nurse a child in a more quiet space, they can do that. It's in a little like room that's adjacent to the bathroom. We're not like sitting right next to the toilet. It's like a little other room. But we also have coats there so that if the kids are playing outside and someone forgot their jacket and it's gotten a little cold, they can borrow a jacket if they need one. Also, as far as nursing goes, people are welcome to nurse children wherever they want in our church. This is just if a parent would like a quieter space to go. This bathroom also has a changing table, and there's also a shower there if any of our congregants need a shower. We also think about, as far as accessibility, audiovisual accommodations. We have one member who has a very limited vision. She can only see a small amount. And so she wanted to have the worship slides on her cell phone. So we have a link where she can scan it and pull the worship slides up on her cell phone. We also have headphones to help dampen noise. Sometimes for certain congregants, the music can be a little overwhelming. So that helps to dampen noise. And we also have headsets that help to amplify the volume if people are having trouble hearing. We also, this is a growing edge for us as well, but we have been thinking a lot about Zoom inclusion. Our congregation has a pretty large Zoom congregation. I think that we have probably around 50 to 70 people who attend via Zoom each Sunday. And so we try to think about things like always speaking in a microphone during services, because sometimes, especially with like joys and sorrows or concerns, people will say, oh, I have a loud voice, I can just talk loud. But what they're not thinking is if you're not talking in a microphone, the Zoom folks cannot hear you. And so we try to be mindful of the Zoom participants. And we do Zoom quite a few of our middle hour, after hour sessions as well. Sarah Devlin Tremble is our director of faith formation, and she's done a beautiful job preparing spaces for kids and families. For example, in this little basket, there are these order of service guides to kind of teach children about the flow of the order of service. She has a whole soul work area set up. This was inspired by Joy Berry's work, but it's handwork that you can do while you're listening to help with folks who would like something to kind of fidget with or to kind of keep their hands busy as they're listening to the service. And children can do this as well. It's for adults and children. We also have in the sanctuary, we have the Peace Center. This is an area where anyone can sit in the Peace Center. It primarily is children, but it's a place where the folks can move more freely. There are coloring pages, and actually, in the next slide, you can see there's a little shelf there that has coloring pages, fidgets, some different things that the folks in the Peace Center can use. It is a space, you can actually see it says Whisper Voices, Please. It's a space for kind of, the expectation is that the folks there are still listening, but it's a place to be able to move a little bit more freely, so that you don't have this kind of like sit down and be quiet vibe around coming into church and in the sanctuary for the children especially. And one thing to note about the Peace Center is it's right up front. I don't know if you can see in this picture, but it's way in the front so that the children can also see what's going on with the service. And they do come forward for the Wonder Box, which is a time for all ages, so that they can come right up from the Peace Center to do the Wonder Box. Our church is our children's programming is kind of based on choice. The children are welcome to stay in the sanctuary for the entire service, or they can stay just until the Wonder Box, which is that time for all ages, where there's a box and they open it up and there's a little like item in there that relates to the theme, and the faith formation director or one of our worship leaders will tell a little story to the children, and then they have the option to be sung out, and they go downstairs for cooperative play or children's programming, or if they want to, they can still stay upstairs through the service with their family members. Either one is fine. Sarah's also prepared beautiful spaces for our children. Downstairs, we have spaces for little ones. We have spaces for youth and teens, which are really, really nicely prepared and curated. And then we also have spaces for everywhere in between. The middle school youth, especially like this area with the foosball table and the air hockey. We also have a ping pong table outside that the kids can use. I guess anyone can use it. And then also, Sarah's done a wonderful job curating our outdoor spaces. So we have a children's garden, playground area. They call this the outdoor classroom. So thinking about spaces and preparing those spaces for families and children as well. And so here is a family talking about how coming to church impacts them and how these spaces impact them.
I think before we even got here, I have to consider the welcoming fact that as a two-mom family, we don't know when we're going somewhere, if we'll even be welcomed. So it's nice to know before we even got here that this community was accepting of and supportive of people coming as they are. And then it's all the little things. I think when we got here, there's people welcoming us in the where we park our cars. When we walk in, getting name tags, even for people who aren't members. So it's all these little things. But then it's also like our kids, having an area for the kids up front. That's different and unique from a lot of communities, churches that, they want kids to kind of go and be quiet. And so all these little things that made us as a family feel like we were welcomed to come and be who we are. Tegan likes to sit and draw, so she can sit and kind of do her thing in the first few minutes while everybody's here. So then I'm not sitting there feeling kind of like super stressed, like, oh, my kid's making a lot of noise, so I gotta get out of here. So for me, I think it's all that. And then of course things like, getting a gift card after we came and said, all right, we came our first time,
And then just the feel of community with, even with things that are happening outside of church, what are those things that the circles? The child circles in the evening. And you can still, bring your kids, and they can do their thing, and you get to, meet other people and break up into groups and get to share things and see, oh, wow, it's fun to see how much you actually have in common with so many different people from so many different walks of life, and, all feel very welcome. That's something where it's hard to find that in this day, these days.
Well, yeah, and doing the things like the Chalice Circle is nice because, I mean, of course, at the end of each service, where you greet your neighbors, so you meet people, but like the people I met at the Chalice Circle, you know, I'll see them and I'm like, oh, that person was in the Chalice Circle with me. Oh, that person, and then going to the little things in between or in middle hour where we can meet people who might have similar interests or similar things. We've gone to parenting groups, you know, so we can sit there and kind of have a little community within the community. And so for me, that's why we kept coming back.
Go ahead, Tia.
You have something?
I feel happy today.
Oh, you're happy today.
I'm good.
You're good. What about you, Isla? Anything?
I feel grateful today.
So, so you can see what an impact it has to have those prepared environments and the spaces, and thinking about that. So the second piece of this in getting ready for those first 7 minutes. So that first section was preparing your environment, your spaces, but also think about preparing your people. So train everyone to be radically welcoming. At first, I put together a radical welcome training, and I did it for just the radical welcome team. Those are our ushers, greeters, and hospitality. And it was such a great training, and it was so well received that I ended up presenting it to the whole congregation because I was thinking, it shouldn't be the responsibility of just this small team to be intentionally creating community and being radically welcoming. It's something that we should all be doing. So really your entire congregation, you want to teach them all to be part of that radical welcome team. So the radical welcome training that we do is a compilation of a lot of different ideas. Like I said, I've been inspired by all sorts of different folks. And so I put this training together, some of my own ideas, some ideas from Kelly Green, from Taryn Strauss, and the UU Congregation of Atlanta, also from our Building Beloved community group that does anti-racism training. So these ideas have come from all sorts, and did I say Kelly Green? So for all sorts of folks. So this is, I pulled out just a couple of the slides to give you a little taste of what our radical welcome training looks like. I am actually just coincidentally holding our radical welcome training on August 3rd and August 10th for our congregation, and it is going to be available via Zoom. So I did share those links, and if I don't have your email already, if you haven't gotten an email from me, when at the end of this, there'll be a chance to fill out a connection card, and I can send you the links for those trainings if you're interested in them. Unfortunately, the timing I had to do, it's since I'm presenting to the congregation, the timing is, I think it's from 11:15 to 1:15, so might not be as great a time for folks, because I know many of you will probably be having church as well during those times. But if you'd like to check it out, they are coming up. So in the radical welcome training, there's two pieces to it. The first is talking about creating a culture of connection, and how we can really center that relationship building. And then the second part of it is understanding and addressing subtle acts of exclusion. And so for those of you who might not be familiar with what a subtle act of exclusion is, these are things that people do or say, and it's often they'll do it in an effort to connect, but that end up being othering. So things like somebody saying, Acentua is too hard to say. Can I call you something else? Or your kids were so cute doing the Wonder Box. This happened. They said it. Someone said this to a Black member, and we're actually talking about somebody else's children that happened to also be Black. So it just really showed like a lack of really knowing or building community with that person, that they were assuming that these children were theirs. Or like, you seem totally normal to someone who's a disabled person. So this part of the training is training the congregants on why these types of interactions are damaging, how to avoid them, and what to say or do if and when they do occur. So a little more information about the trainings. In these trainings, we teach our congregants to practice intentional acts of inclusion. So act in a way that tells people, I care about you, I want to know you, you belong here, and you're truly welcome just as you are. I see you and I value the insights and experiences you bring. And then also training people to talk to folks that they don't know yet, to ask open-ended questions. What brings you here today versus are you new? Remember that everyone has multiple identities and refrain from focusing on any one identity that you notice or assume. And then also to listen more than you talk, to be generally interested in the other person, to ask follow-up questions, and to start a conversation from a place of shared experience. So what did you think of the service? Or if you attended a class together, have a discussion about that class. And then also we do train our congregants to notice who's new. In our church, you don't need to be a member to have one of our like fancy, nice name tags, but the brand new people have these sticker paper name tags. So we train folks to notice if they see somebody with a paper name tag and make a point to talk to them. And then to look around for people who aren't talking to anyone and invite them into conversation. At the same time, we also want to make sure we're respecting the introverts and notice body language and other signs that a person you're talking to might be ready to end the conversation and not to take it personally. So we want to make sure people are welcome, that they're engaged, that they're not feeling like they're sitting by and no one's, they're not connecting. But we also don't want folks to feel overwhelmed, like they're being flooded with folks trying to talk to them. So center relationship building is the focus there, and teach alternative language to avoid common pitfalls. Kelly Green has a great resource on this, and I said that I would share it. So if I have your email address, I will share that, as well as the video from the Unitarian Universalist Congregation of Atlanta, because I think I did not send that out in my last email. So here are some common pitfalls I just wanted to lift up. I train my congregation to never say, are you new? There is really never a scenario where saying, are you new is a great thing to say, because if someone's coming into the church and you don't know them and you say, are you new? It could be that they've been a member of the church for 50 years and maybe they haven't been for a while because they've had some health issue or whatever. And so if you say, are you new? It makes that person feel like, wow, I'm really not known here. I've been a member for 50 years and you're asking me if I'm new. If it is somebody who is in fact new, it makes them feel very singled out, like, oh, I'm identified. They know that this isn't my place. I'm new. Or the one that is even more uncomfortable for me, I think, is when it's somebody who's been coming for maybe like 4 to 6 months. If someone says, are you new? Well, then they're like, well, am I new? I mean, I feel like I belong in this place. I feel like this is a community that I'm really connecting with. And now all of a sudden, I'm feeling called out as being not a part of the community. So instead of saying, are you new? If I want to get information, like kind of connect with somebody, when they come in, I just say, have we met? I'm Laura. And usually if they're new, 99% of the time, they'll say, oh, no, we haven't met. This is my first time here. And then you can kind of carry on the conversation from there. But I really strongly encourage you to take the language, are you new, out of your mouth, because it just never makes people feel particularly welcome. If you recognize someone that comes in and you can't remember their name, I have a little trick that I do where I always say, nice to see you. And I know like saying nice to see you is ableist, but I don't have another phrase that's as good, because if you say nice to meet you, it could be someone you've met before. And then if you say nice to meet you again, then they feel like, oh, you don't remember me. But if you can say nice to see you to anyone, you can say nice to see you to somebody you're meeting for the first time. You can say nice to see you to somebody you've met 100 times. So I always say, nice to see you. And then I'll say, do you already have a name tag or should we make you one? Since we make people name tags, the official name tags, when they are still pretty new to the congregation, sometimes folks will already have a name tag. If they need to make one, if I don't remember their name, I will give them the paper name tag and the marker. And so they write their name, and then that helps me remember, oh yeah, that's what that's what their name is. And they don't realize that I forgot their name, because I'll say, oh, nice to see you. Let's make you a name tag. And then they make their name tag, and I'm like, oh yeah, take care, Willie. And so it helps them still feel seen, and they feel known. And then I kind of make a note to myself, okay, that's who that person was. And then in terms of preparing your people, just keep educating, doing trainings on deep listening and conversation skills, continuing doing anti-racism training. Our church is becoming a mosaic church this year, so we're dedicating one Sunday per month to do anti-racism training. Also doing trainings on recognizing and calling in subtle acts of exclusion, and trainings on diversity, equity, and inclusion. Just keep reminding folks about how we want to be interacting in community. And so this was actually a real surprise to me. This is Jan, and she was just sharing. She said, I have something I want to share with you. And this was about how one of our trainings really impacted her life, which was kind of special to hear.
So we had a community-wide chalice circle, and the theme was listening. I think it might have been communication, but I think it was listening. And we had a TED Talk at first, a televised TED Talk. And then Laura handed out some, papers to sort of guide, have a guideline. And it was these things that you need to do in conversation to make connections, Number one, be present. Number one, ask questions. Remember the who, how, where, when you're talking to people. And I found out, that's one reason why I wasn't making connections. I really didn't know how to make a good conversation. I would ask somebody, how long have you come to church? Oh, 2 years. Okay. And now it's, where did you live before? Where did you go to church before? What brought you here? And this is carried over into so much of my life. I talk to anybody now. I make conversation with anybody. I make random remarks that make people smile. I'll be walking through a store and see a bored husband sitting there. I'm like, are you having fun yet? And he laughs at, all kinds of things like that. So it's that community chalice circle session has been instrumental to changing my life.
So now it's showtime. We've prepared our environment, we've prepared our people, and we're ready for Sunday morning. And so I'm going to walk you through what that first 7 minutes looks like on a Sunday morning. Actually, we'll go a little beyond the 7 minutes, but just so you have a sense of what we're doing. And a lot of the things that we do, as the members that have spoken already have mentioned these things that really have made an impact. Things like being greeted in the parking lot, being oriented, being welcomed. And so you'll see these themes come up because we kind of do the same thing more or less for all of those first-time visitors for that first 7 minutes. And I always think of the first 7 minutes or those first interactions as like you're creating a little story with these visitors. You're having these little touch points with them, and little points of connection. And those connections start on this first Sunday that they're visiting, but they carry on throughout your developing and connecting with those visitors. So the first thing that happens on Sunday morning at our church is that you're greeted, and we have greeters in the parking lot. Our church, the way that it's oriented, the front door is facing all of these handicapped parking spots, but the two main parking lots are kind of to either side. And so if there's not somebody outside to orient folks, a lot of times they can go down the wrong path and end up at a locked door. And there's something so unwelcoming about arriving to a place that you're unfamiliar with and coming to a locked door. So we have greeters positioned to kind of orient and direct people as to where to go. Our greeters and ushers wear these Ask Me I'm a Radical Welcome volunteer pins or tags. Really anybody could ask any congregant a question, but these just help for folks to identify the Radical Welcome Team volunteers and folks who are designated to be support. So when folks come in, they're welcomed and oriented. So they've been greeted in the parking lot. Now they've come through the door. And I was talking with Judy, who is one of our member engagement volunteers, and she was like, you really need to include a video of like showing how you welcome people at the church for new people. And I said, well, you can't really videotape a brand new person visiting because it's not very welcoming to be videotaping someone who's completely not oriented to your space. And so she said, well, I think we should act it out. So this next video is, I am not a very good actor. So this next video is Judy and I acting out what welcoming might look like on a Sunday morning. This was filmed not on a Sunday morning. So I don't know. You can take from it what you will. But here's what greeting might look like on a Sunday morning. Good morning.
Oh,
Hi, I'm Laura. Have we met?
we have not met. It's my first time here.
Oh, what's your name?
Judy.
Hi, Judy. Let me make you a name tag.
Well, thank you.
Have you been coming to UU churches for a while?
I honestly have never been to a UU church before.
How did you find out about us? Is it J-U?
J-U-D-I.
J-U-D-I. How did you find out about us?
I met someone at a coffee shop.
Oh, okay.
And she told me about the church.
Great.
So
what did she say?
she just told me that it was a very open, warm community.
Well, it absolutely
So I thought I'd
is.
give you guys a try.
Wonderful. We're so glad that you're here. Here's a little information about the church. This shares a little bit about our values and the community. And then also there's a little QR code here for our newsletter. You can also get a virtual copy of our connection card. And then we have email addresses for all of the staff. So if you have any questions for a minister or for me, I'm the director of member engagement, you can get our emails right there.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, there's also this, this is our Pearl Guide. This is a guide that gives information about different activities and groups that you can get involved in. There are things that happen at the church that you don't necessarily see on a Sunday. So, because we have events going on all throughout the week. So take a look at that as well. There's lots to get involved in.
Oh, okay, thank you.
You're welcome. As you go in, our ushers will be handing out a Newsweek and the connection card. The Newsweek is a newsletter. It gives information about things that are happening in the church in the next couple of weeks, so different activities to get involved in. And then also they'll give you the connection card. The connection card is something that we use to connect with the whole congregation. Everybody fills it out. And if you fill out the little visitor section, I get to send you a little welcome gift in the mail. So make sure to grab one on your way in. And if you need the bathroom, it's straight down the hall and on the left.
Okay.
So, yeah, after the service, we do have something called after hour, and that's a time where there's different classes and activities. We have different movement classes like yoga or Tai Chi. We have classes that are about social justice issues like dismantling racism, green living, all sorts of different topics. And there's a little whiteboard right over here. It says what activities are coming up for after hour. Okay. We also have coffee hour after the service, which is just a time to socialize and meet people. So make sure you hang out, and if you come to coffee hour, I can definitely introduce you to people and help you get oriented.
That would be great.
Okay, it's so nice to meet you. Welcome.
All right.
So so after the welcome at the welcome table, folks come in and they're also greeted by the ushers. The ushers hand out that connection card and the Newsweek. So this is just a little picture. The next slide is a little picture of what the connection card looks like and the Newsweek. The Newsweek is that newsletter I referred to. That's it's that inviting. So when you're thinking about those different premises of being radically welcoming, making people feel cared for, just showing them the bathroom, connecting with them, letting them know what's going on, inviting them to coffee. Nothing makes people feel more cared for than getting food and nice coffee. And then using that connection card as another way to say, like, how are you doing? We care about you. We want to connect with you. So that is where that first 7 minutes pretty much ends. Folks then come in, they settle in, and then the service begins. And so hopefully there'll be a moving sermon, and they'll be very inspired and filled with a sense of community from their experience in the service. And so if you're doing it all right, then then your visitors should be feeling like Melissa and Chris.
We've been coming now regularly, I guess, for a couple months, maybe 3 months, maybe. Yeah, and what I know is that we look forward to coming each time and just experiencing the energy, and we just we get so much out of the services. We learn. That's lovely. The people are lovely. The singing and the music is lovely, and we've just been really inspired to keep coming back. So we're very, very grateful, and we're looking forward to becoming regular members. So thank you.
And actually, Melissa and Chris did become members just a couple weeks ago, so that's cool. One thing, so after the service, the sermon, at the end of the service, there is a little time where I go up and I introduce myself and I explain the connection card. And I explain the connection card in service every single week. If I'm not there for a Sunday, someone else explains it. We first started doing this because our congregation was used to only newcomers filling out the card. We had a newcomer card and only new people would fill it out. But we shifted to doing the connection card. Partly because in the Nelson Searcy book, Fusion, he talks about how if everybody is filling out the card, it feels less othering, if everyone's filling out it feels less othering rather than having like a brand new person just do it and only the new people. The connection card has also become a really valuable tool for us to be checking in and providing care for all of our congregation. It's a way that we can check in with everybody every single week. And so I started out that I was explaining the connection card just to get the whole congregation used to doing it. But I've continued to explain the connection card because it orients those, maybe you have 4 or 5 new people in your service that Sunday, and that 3 minutes is for those people. And I've had like some of the worship leaders, some congregants have been like, oh my gosh, why do you have to explain the connection card every single week? You say the same thing every week. And I try to emphasize that those 3 minutes are not for you. Those 3 minutes are for those brand new people who don't know what the connection card is, and it helps to orient them. And if we can get those brand new people to fill out that connection card, then it gives us their contact information. It allows us to continue to invite, and continue to create connection with those people. This is a little video clip of me in an actual service presenting the connection card, so you can see what that looks like.
Laura Schrank, and I'm the Director of Member Engagement here at UUCA, and it's always such a gift to come here and be part of your community and to see all of you every Sunday. So thank you for being here. Now is the time when we fill out our connection card. So rustle around, find your connection card. If you didn't get one, raise your hand and our ushers will happily bring you one. There's one for Diane right there. And if you're joining us via Zoom, you can find the link for the connection card in the chat. I encourage the folks on Zoom to also fill out your connection card. It's a way that you can check in with us so that we can see how everybody's doing. If you're visiting us today, there's a section for visitors, so share your info there. I get to send you a little welcome gift in the mail. And it also gets you connected with me to find out about events and activities. If you want one of these fancy name tags, you don't have to be a member to get one. You can just check the box and we will make you one. And if you want help getting on our member engagement system Realm, you can check the box at the bottom there and we will also help you. There's also all sorts of engagement activities. This changes every single week, so please look at the engage section. If there's something you're interested in, just check the box and we'll follow up with you. And Ryan has posed a question for you today. And that question is, what is my next daring step toward freedom?
So, oops. Oh, no. So after that part, folks can go up to the candle table and light a candle for reflection and remembrance. And there's some music that plays that gives people time to fill out their connection cards. Another thing that's really important about announcing the connection card is that it reminds people to fill it out. We've had services where it's been a different style of service and they've skipped announcing the connection card and people forget to fill it out and we get way, way, way less connection cards. So it's important to, if you're going to use a connection card, which I highly recommend, it's important to save a little space in the service where folks can fill it out, and there's usually a piece of music that goes with that in our congregation. And then at the very end of the service, we also have one other little time for connection, and that's where we turn and greet our neighbors. So it encourages people to talk to one another. It can start conversations among your congregants. So that's a nice way to kind of end the service with folks, just saying hello and starting conversation. So after our service, we have a middle or after hour at our church. So during the church year, our church has two services. We have a 9 to 10 service, and then we have an 11:15 to 12:15 service. And in between there, we have what's called middle hour. When we have a single service, so in the summer right now, we're having a single service from 10 to 11, and then we have an after hour. But it's basically the same thing, that middle or after hour. And it's a time where children do their faith formation classes, so OWL or coming of age or crossing paths or all these different spirituality values type based programs for the kids. But then we also offer events or classes for congregants. So my screen is very little. I can't remember what was on this one, but I think there was like a yoga, there was a divorce support group. Oh, I can't read what the little slide says right now. I think we had a green finance group, and then there was one other group that met. And then at the bottom there, actually, there's a little note that says, "Did you know that the mindfulness practice group meets from 9 to 10?" So it's just like inviting all of these sessions, all of everything that folks engage with, gives them a chance to meet people and build community. Another place where we build community is through hospitality and coffee hour. We want people to stick around and build connection, and food and drink help make that happen. Our hospitality team is truly next level. You'll often see them circulating around coffee hour with trays of snacks like it's past hors d'oeuvres at a party. The team has really taken it to the next level, but that really makes people feel cared for, and it surprises people. I've had people say that they joined the church because of the snacks, which, I mean, they were kind of kidding, but I get it. Like, it does make you feel really cared for. And as you can see from this next picture, people really stick around for coffee hour. There's programming going on in the church, those middle hour sessions, but we still have a good number of folks who will hang out and just mill about and chat and have coffee. And this is community building in action. I think of this time during coffee hour as like I'm having a big party and I want to make sure all my friends are having fun. So I just like mingle about, and it's all about making little connections with people like, "Oh, Bob, how's your knee doing? Oh, Marilyn, did you see any good birds on your walk this week? Oh, Willie, when's your band playing next?" And kind of going around. And then if there are new folks, connecting with those new folks, spending a little more time talking to new people, getting to know them, getting to know what they're interested in. Really take advantage of that coffee hour time to learn about people, but also to connect people. Like, I had one experience where I was talking to a woman. She said she lived in Crownsville and she had goats, and I happened to know another congregant that lives in Crownsville and has goats, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, let me introduce you to this person." So it's all about building those connections and like it kind of helping facilitate friendships and conversations. So it's really about like using that time to connect folks, because connection is for everyone. This training is about growing membership through creating connection. So it's focusing on new folks, but really my role is director of member engagement. And my role in my church is not just engaging new people, it's about engaging everybody. And so while I do give new folks a little extra attention, I really do make an effort to connect with all of our congregants. And so just like I said, like all of these tenets, being radically welcoming, showing you care, building relationships, inviting, and making it easy to get involved. This is something that we all want to feel. We all want to feel welcomed, cared for, known, and engaged. And it doesn't matter if you're a brand new person or somebody who's been attending the church for 50 years. So just keep those in mind. I want to just highlight one area that's super important to me and super important, I think, to member engagement. And it's that names matter. I cannot emphasize this enough. I learned names at our church like it's my job. I consider learning people's names part of my job. And so I have little strategies that I use to help me to learn people's names. One thing is that when people come in, if they're brand new and I'm making them a name tag, I write their name, their name tag for them. When I'm writing the name tag, I'll always ask how they spell their name. I don't make any assumptions about the spelling. And so it helps me to actually do the physical act of writing the name, but then putting the name tag on the person, like giving it to the person. I see their face, I see the name. But then through the different things that we do, we take attendance. I do in-person attendance, and I actually look at the congregation and check off all the people I see. It helps remind me of people's names. It helps me see who's coming and who hasn't been showing up. We with the connection cards, we read the connection cards, so we're getting little snippets of information about people. We're seeing their names over and over again. And then also another thing that really helps is name tags, and we have made a big investment in getting better name tags. So in this next picture, you can hopefully see on the left, Caroline here has a little tiny name tag, and these are our old ones. They were blue, the white writing was in white. From a distance, they were impossible to read. You had to be pretty much right face to face with the person in order to read the name tag. And now we've invested in these bigger ones. In the next picture, you can see a better version of it. But they're really easy to read from across the room. Which is great because if you've forgotten someone's name, you can see from a distance what their name is. So by the time they get up to you, you're like, oh right, that's Kristen. So these for us, these name tags are a bit of an expense for membership. They cost $6 each. You do not need to invest in these. These are kind of nice. They have like a little magnet back. You can just get name tags that are from like Office Depot that are like the little plastic sleeve. But having those name tags and making folks name tags, even though they're not a member, has really made such an impact and created a sense of belonging. We used to spend like, I think it was $8 or $9 to give visitors a book that was about like Unitarian Universalism. It was like a general guide to Unitarian Universalism. And I stopped purchasing that book because it was outdated. It didn't include the eighth principle. And I feel like there was more current information available online. And so we now spend that money on these name tags, which are $6 each. But there is nothing that gives someone a sense of belonging like having this really like nice permanent name tag that when they come back, they feel like they are already part of the community, that they belong. They have the name tag that looks just like everybody else's. And it's like that, and they leave it at the church. So it's like they have a place here. The name tags we use, if anyone's interested, they're called The Boomer, which I think is really funny. And it's from Name Tags Inc. is the name of the company that we use. And the more of them you buy, the cheaper price you can get if you're interested in that name tag. We used to have it so that only members got name tags. So when they were those little engraved ones, the little blue ones, we only made them for members because it was really expensive. And it was a task because you had to send out the order to the engraver, then you had to go and pick them up. And so now with these other name tags, they're half the price. And so we did, the one thing was that folks were like, well, how will we know who a member is? And so we actually have two little logos that are underneath the names. Initially, we were doing the prospective members with no logo, and it looked kind of sad. I didn't like it, not having the symbol. So on the right, you can see the member has like our church logo, and the one on the left has the one with the heart, and that's the one that I made for prospective members. From a distance, you cannot tell them apart. And honestly, the vast majority of our congregation doesn't even realize that they're different. In fact, when I was presenting this at GA, one of my members came up to me and said, I didn't even realize they had different symbols on them. But usually the prospective members only realize they're different when they become members and they get a new name tag and they're like, oh, I had never noticed that. And that's what we want. We want the prospective members to feel as much a part of belonging as a member. It's not like being a member, you get a shiny gold star, like you should feel just as included. And as you can see from the picture of our name tag wall here, you can't tell looking at these who's a member and who isn't a member from a distance. The blue tags, just as a note, are for our youth and teens. The youth and teens also get the adult name tags, and we mark them in blues just so folks know that they're talking to a minor if they have a blue name tag on. And so here is a little clip of Robin talking about the name tags and how welcoming made her feel.
Hi, I'm Robin Gilliam. I'm going to stop and get my tag and get it on. One of the things I love about this church is how everybody knows you because of your tag, and they're so welcoming when you come in for services and other events, and just feel very welcome and connected, which is one of the reasons I joined, because I just gone through a lot of grief when I came in, losing a lot of people, and felt very disconnected, and I was looking for something like UU. So, yay! Very excited to share this with you.
So with that, we kind of wrap up our Sunday experience. And now from this point, we're going to be looking at beyond Sunday. So actually for Carrie, the name tags, people have an option to have pronouns on their name tags. We do not automatically put pronouns on our name tags. That was actually from, we did a trans inclusion training at our church, and it was actually suggested that it be optional for folks. Some people don't want to feel like they are forced to choose pronouns. And so some name tags have pronouns and some do not, and it's up to the folks when they get name tags, they can tell us whether or not they want their pronouns on the name tag. So yes, we do keep pronouns in mind for name tags. So beyond Sunday, those connections that you're starting to make, you want to continue those connections beyond Sunday. So the connection card is a major tool. It is super key for keeping those connections going. And so this is a little bit more of a close-up version of our connection card for you to see. The question at the top, it says, how are you doing today? Or how are you today? That's a place where it's just like checking in, just like when you do a meeting in any, like at our church, whenever a small group meets or you're having any kind of meeting, even in our staff meetings, we go around and just check in with each other. And obviously on a Sunday when there's 250 people at church, you don't have time to check in with each person, but this is a way that we can connect and check in on folks Folks will share, if somebody's passed away in their family, or if they lost their job, or like somebody is in the ICU. They'll also share things like celebrating a birthday, or just milestones, or whatever is on their mind. And it's a wonderful way that we get a little insight about different congregants. It's also great because I make a point of reading these and I pass them on to our minister. And it gives us a little point of connection, so that, if you read on here that someone's struggling with a hip issue or whatever, you can see them on Sunday and say, oh, how's your hip doing? Or that kind of thing. Also, if there are people who write something on this connection card that we think would need some follow-up, we have a care team that is made up of practitioners that are there's some people are nurses, there are therapists, and counselors, and they will, we go through the connection cards and we'll sort out the care concerns, and we'll start a pathway for connecting with them. So they will be assigned to a care team practitioner to follow up with them and just check in on them. Our care team practitioners are not providing therapy or counseling. They are more providing support, listening, and helping connect people with resources. So this is a place where we really, it's not just for connecting with new people, but it's really for offering support and care for everyone, making everyone feel cared for. The section below that, the visiting section, we encourage the visitors to fill that out. It just gets us their contact information so that we can send them their welcome gift in the mail. And then to the side there, that little box, people can check if they're a first-time visitor, second-time visitor, regular attender / non-member, or a member. The reason why we have first-time visitor and second-time visitor taken out is is that we do special things for people who are visiting first time and second time. We hand out a pen to folks as they enter when they get their connection card. So they'll get their connection card in Newsweek, and we hand everyone a pen if they want one. Um, so for first time visitors, we have a little team that meets. I'll show you a picture of it a little later, but and that team helps to process the connection cards. One of the things they do is we write handwritten cards to first time visitors. In the handwritten card, we just, emphasize that we were excited to see them on Sunday, and then we invite them to Coffee and Conversations. Coffee and Conversations is a meetup that we do every Thursday. I actually did it this morning. It's from 10:30 to 12:30. And the little welcome gift that we send is a coffee card to Coffee and Conversations. So when the first time visitors get this card, it's a handwritten card. It has an invitation to coffee, and it has a $5 coffee card so that they can use that to come to coffee. And you'd be surprised, probably about 30% of the people who visit will come to Coffee and Conversations. Not everybody can come because it's during the day, obviously, and it's totally fine if they just use their coffee card at another time. But it's an invitation. It's showing we care. It's an opportunity to connect. And then second time visitors, we send a little postcard that's also just like, hey, it was great to see you. If you have any questions or want to connect, let me know. And the second time visitor card that we send, I think is nice because if people attend like one month and then they wait a couple months and then come back, the fact that you're noticing that they were here before and that they've returned really means a lot to them. And one thing to be able to do that's really important is that you are tracking your data, that you're keeping track of who your visitors are, who has gotten a first time visitor coffee card, because you don't want to be sending people more than one coffee card. That you're noticing, oh, they came back. Maybe they come back the very next week. Maybe they come back 3 weeks later, but you're noticing that they're a second time visitor. Also, one thing to note, if you do this, oftentimes people won't fill out the connection card their very first time visiting because they're trying to get a sense of the church. And so they might come a second time and they'll say they're a second time visitor on their connection card. But if you're tracking your data well, you can look at them and say, hey, I don't recognize this name. Let's look and see, oh, this person actually has never visited before. And so we treat them as a first time visitor. Even if they've marked second time on their card, the first time they fill out a connection card in our eyes is when their first time visit date is. Also on the connection card, as I mentioned, you can check this little box at the bottom if you want a name tag. It's a really good indication of how people have connected and what their experience has been in the church that day. If they are a first time visitor and they've already checked that they want to get a name tag, it means that we're doing things right. Or first or second, those folks who are here, if they're planning on coming back, they wouldn't ask for a permanent name tag if they weren't planning on coming back. And then with Realm, which is our member engagement platform that we use, we invite everyone to be a part of Realm, to be on Realm. I know different people have different ways that they manage their databases and things, but Realm is one that has like a news feed. It has events and registration events. There's a directory of members that only members have access to. You can also do your giving through Realm. So that's the system we use, and we do invite our visitors to be on Realm as well as our members. And then on the back, there's the engagement section. This is where it's the invite, where we invite folks to get involved in all sorts of different activities, whether it's like helping with a garden, or being on a radical welcome team, or coming to a training or meeting, coming to the Pathway to Membership class, all these different things. If they check these boxes on Tuesdays when we go through the cards, we divvy them up. And so, like if Olivia is doing the gardening group, we will send all the emails to Olivia, the email addresses to Olivia, and say, hey, these are the people you need to connect with about gardening. Oh, Pathway to Membership, that's us. So we need to connect and make sure those folks have information about the class. So we follow up with folks to make sure that they're feeling supported and that they're invited to things and know when to arrive and come to those events. We also have in that engage section at the bottom, we always have a box that is for anonymous pastoral care or wellness care. So sometimes people don't want to say what's going on. They don't want to write on their connection card what issue they might be having, and they just might want to confidentially speak to a minister or someone from the care team. And so there are boxes there that they can check, so that, and then we'll just refer them to a minister or the care team, and so it can remain anonymous, whatever's going on with them. And then the reflection question is posed by whoever did the sermon that day, and it relates to the sermon. And that's a chance for the minister or whoever did the sermon that day to connect with or hear some ideas or thoughts people were having about the service. The little QR code there is links to our giving page. So for folks who are visitors that don't have a Realm account yet, they can digital or virtually give money. It goes to like a little link where you can put in your credit card info and make a donation to the church. And then there's a little box at the bottom there that's just asking if people have interest in kind of some of our like regular groups, like the choir, or getting involved in faith formation, the children's programming, things like that. So that's what the connection card looks like. And here is a picture of a couple of our folks from membership team. There's Ryan and I, and then Judy and Anastasia. We usually have about 4 volunteers that will come for the membership team meeting, but it varies. We've been having a ton of visitors at our church lately because we are in that DC corridor, and I think the political climate has really driven a lot of folks to our church. And so some, like this past Sunday, I think we had 10 first-time visitors, and we probably had about 6 or 7 second-time visitors. And so in addition to writing those first-time visitor cards, first-time visitors also get an email that Ryan, my assistant, sends out that's just a welcome email. It includes some invitations to upcoming events, and just is a way to connect, to just say, hey, we were so happy to see you. If you have any questions, let us know. First-time visitors also get added to our constant contact so that they get our e-newsletter. And then we also, with this membership team, in addition to writing those cards, we also track attendance. So we're entering our attendance data into Realm as well. And then that picture there is a picture of the welcome card. I created this little art for the welcome card that's our logo. And then there's an example of the coffee card that we send out. And here's a little flyer of the Coffee and Conversations. This is what we invite people to on when we send out the cards. We do have another event that's called the Gen XYZ Meetup. That's just once a month. Coffee and Conversations is every week. The Gen XYZ Meetup is just once a month from 7 to 9 at a different kind of coffee shop bar type place. There were folks who were saying, well, Coffee and Conversations is during the day and I work. And so we created, and then some other people were wanting something there for kind of younger folks at church. So I created the Gen XYZ Meetup to be something that would kind of help fill the gap there for opportunity to connect. So yeah, so with all of these things, with the coffee cards and the invitations and everything, we're going to hear from Dana to hear how that all made her feel.
So I started coming to UUCA about 2 years ago, and I came for the first time by myself, and it was really kind of scary. You know, I'm new to the area, I'm not really sure what to expect, but I came on my own and I was greeted immediately, and I remember getting the coffee card afterwards and really feeling like the service connected with me, but also all of these people in this great community, and the extent to which they were willing to get my address, send me something, really made me feel welcomed in the church. And I remember also talking to my husband about it, and at first he wasn't really too sure, like, what is UU? How does that relate to, you know, religions that he knows? But then it got to the point where he started coming, also felt the welcome, and I would go on long business trips, maybe a month or 6 weeks, and he would be coming every Sunday, even without me. And so I think for us, we've always felt really welcome in the church. We feel like it's a place where both of us are seen and really thrive, and we enjoy going.
It was cool to hear Dana share, because her husband is from Africa, and she works in Africa and is traveling. It's funny, a lot of times she'll be gone for like a month in Africa, and then her husband is here, and then he was just away in Africa recently. But I was talking to Code, her husband, and he was saying how he actually at his work asked for his Sunday mornings to be free, to not work on Sunday mornings, just because it's so important for him to come to church. So that was a pretty special thing to hear. So as I was saying, it's really, really important to keep track. In order to connect and engage with people, to notice who's coming and who isn't coming, you've got to keep track of your membership, and that's not just your visitors, but also your regular attenders and your members. So we, like I said, we use the platform Realm. I also take attendance that we enter into Realm. Um, but if you don't have Realm, you can do this using an Excel spreadsheet. When I first started, we did not have Realm, and I took on the membership. At the time, I was the membership coordinator, and I remember I came in and I was like, "Okay, where's the list of prospective folks?" And there was literally nothing. There was no list of anybody, and so I just started a spreadsheet, and it had like people's names, their contact information, and then it had check boxes where it was like if they're a first-time visitor, what their first-time visit date was, did they get a welcome email? Did they get a card and a coffee card? Did they get a second time visitor email? And so I would just check. I would just check it off on the Excel spreadsheet, and that's how I did it. So you don't need to have some fancy system like Realm to keep track. You can keep track just using a spreadsheet or another type of form like Google Sheets or whatever. And so the next person is April, and she is going to share with us about how keeping track and checking in with people and knowing your congregants really makes a difference.
Here at UU, I feel so welcomed and so taken care of by the member engagement team. I have a story about my mom. She is in her mid-80s and was a member of Faith Baptist, of a church in Buffalo for all of her life. And she fell ill, and no one came to see her or contact her. The only time was to connect with her about her tithings. My sister was pretty frustrated with this call, or the reason for the call, and she mentioned to the caller that, no one's reached out to my mom since she's been ill from church. And the caller from church said, "Well, we didn't even know your mom was ill." And my sister had a problem with that because they didn't notice that she had not been attending church. And one of the things that our member engagement team emphasizes here is not only to engage those who are present, but to look out and engage those who are not. So that's one of the things that stick out for me here at UU, and it means a great deal to me.
So kind of switching gears and thinking about like now we've done people came on Sunday, we've done the follow-up from Sunday, that Beyond Sunday follow-up, and now what happens? They've gotten their first time visitor card, they've gotten their second time visitor card, now what? And that's where the inviting comes in. So one thing that's really great for people who are just starting to get to know your community is to create drop-in opportunities for intentional community building, because people are still kind of checking you out. They're still getting to know you. And so maybe they don't want to commit to some kind of regular class or something like that. But if there's kind of low commitment drop-in opportunities, they're great. And so on Sundays, we have those middle hour and after hours that are great drop-in opportunities. But beyond that, we have coffee and conversations, like I mentioned. It's a little bit of a smaller group. Oftentimes we have to split our coffee and conversation group into two groups. We actually used to be at a different coffee shop, and we got kicked out of that coffee shop because our group got too large, because we're having 18 to 20 people attend. And so we will sometimes split up into two groups. So coffee and conversations is a great drop-in opportunity. The three that I'm going to mention here are coffee and conversations. The next one is the Gen XYZ meetup, which I mentioned before. And you can see how we're in tables of 6 to make it easier to have a conversation. And then this last one is Connecting Conversations. All 3 of these events have the exact same model. We meet, we check in, we share something called glums and glows. Glums are something what you're challenged by, or something might be stressing you out. And then glows are something you're excited about or looking forward to. You don't have to share glums and glows if you don't want to, but it's a way that we just initially connect. And then after glums and glows, I have conversations, starting questions, like these little boxes of questions. And so we just do conversation starter questions. Like today, when we did coffee and conversations, we were talking about what was a childhood memory that has stayed with you. We do talk about how these sessions are not about talking about politics. I think that sometimes we can get kind of in an echo chamber talking about politics, and that the emphasis of these activities is really about creating connection and getting to know people. And so we try to keep it more on a personal level. But all three of them are the same. We do check-ins and then we do discussion questions. They're just in different settings. The connecting conversations one is an after hour or middle hour. So we do it after service or in between the two services. Another thing that I created when I became the director of member engagement at our church, I also took on organizing our small group ministries. So I actually changed the name. They used to be called covenanted groups, and I changed the name to chalice circles. And so we have in our church, we have chalice circles that are small group chalice circles that meet in neighborhoods. There are 10 to 12 people. They meet, they usually check in and maybe share some food. And then they discuss the Soul Matters curriculum that we use the Soul Matters curriculum, but they basically have conversations based on the spiritual theme for the month. One thing that I found when I took over the chalice circles was that the chalice circles these little groups had been in existence for so long that they were becoming kind of almost like little cliques where the folks were, very connected to their chalice circles, which is great, but then nobody wanted to branch out to start a new group because they didn't want to leave their group. And so there was no leadership to start new groups. And then the brand new people didn't really know what a chalice circle was. And so they're like, well, I don't know if I can lead this thing. I've never even been to one. And so I decided to create a drop-in experience that's called the community-wide chalice circle. And the community-wide chalice circles are the same idea. They meet at the church instead of meeting in small people's homes or in small groups in people's homes. They meet at the church. We do them once a month. This is an old slide because we actually take a little break in the summer. But so they're based on the Soul Matters theme still. We still have a time for social connection. So from 6 to 6:45, we do a little appy hour, like appetizer hour. It's actually 45 minutes. So people can just like eat snacks and chat. I wasn't sure what people would bring, but people actually bring like lovely little snacks. And so we'll just chat. Sometimes I've collaborated with the Faith Formation. So they do children's programming downstairs. And so like for the holidays, they did like a Grinch party. So the Grinch was up there. We did a craft thing at one point during the social connection where you could like do this collaborative mural project. So from 6 to 6:45 is the social connection time. And then from 6:45 to 8:30 is when we have the spiritual connection, when we do the chalice circle. So children are invited to go downstairs to take part in the children and youth programming, or if there's youth or children that want to participate in the conversation, they can. The kids typically want to go downstairs. They do things like a popcorn and movie party, or they'll do like a art night or things like that downstairs for the kids. And so then upstairs we go into the sanctuary. We light the chalice and do a little opening words, and then we read a covenant that just kind of sets the tone for how we're going to be in conversation together. And then we do a little tone setting of like what the theme is, like an introduction to the theme. That's sometimes it's a TED talk, sometimes it's someone just speaking about the topic. But the main bulk of what we do in a community-wide chalice circle is we break up into small groups. It's random. I always say it's elementary school style. I just count everybody off. I make groups of about 6 to 8 people, and then I hand out questions. And so there's when folks break up into their small groups, they do a check-in, glums and glows, and then there's questions that are centered around the theme. So the bulk of the time that we're in a community-wide chalice circle is spent in small group conversation. When you come to these, you're randomly assigned a group, so it's a different group every single time. So it's different than a neighborhood chalice circle where it's the same 10 to 12 people that you meet with. The other thing that I do for the community-wide chalice circle is I actually create my own content for that, so that it's not redundant to what folks are doing. If they're in a small group chalice circle, they could still come to the community-wide chalice circle, and it's not going to be redundant because we make fresh content for it. We make fresh questions. So it's on the same theme, but it's a unique material. And so then at the end of the discussion time, we actually come back together as a big group. There's an opportunity for the different groups to share out if there were any little gems or nuggets of information that they wanted the whole group to hear. And then we do some closing words, and that's the end of our community-wide Chalice Circle. But it's served a number of purposes. It's helped to orient new people to what a Chalice Circle is. It's helped foster leadership so that people understand what a Chalice Circle is. That's the new people so that they can feel more confident leading a group. And then it's also adds some flexibility for folks who maybe can't commit to a group that meets every single month. It provides childcare support for families so that they can still do a Chalice Circle, but that they don't have to worry about childcare. So it's been really successful. And we actually this summer are working on rolling out new Chalice Circle groups. So it's going to be interesting to see. I think that we'll have more leaders step forward who want to lead Chalice Circles, small group neighborhood Chalice Circles, because they've been oriented through the community wide Chalice Circles. So this is a new initiative. We just finished our first year of doing community wide Chalice Circles, but it's been a really big success. So we're definitely going to continue to do it. Also for inviting, support members in creating and facilitating their own groups. You do not have to do all the work. And in our church, one of the benefits of membership is that you can start a group as long as you have 3 members that are also participating, and that the purpose of the group kind of meets our values. It doesn't have to be anything wild. Like we have 2, not 1, but 2 Dungeons and Dragons groups. And that's just meeting the value of building community and connection. So we encourage folks to create and facilitate their own groups. At our church, we have a group called Poetry Pals, where folks write poetry and prose and share them. Then they did a gallery show of that that was started by members. We have a book club that was started by members. We have a movie group where the folks will watch movies at home on their own, and then they come together and have like a potluck dinner and discuss the movies. We have a board game group. We have all sorts of different groups that members have started. We have one that's called the Feminist Fiber Arts Group, where you don't have to be female to be in the Feminist Fiber Arts Group, but you do have to be a feminist. But they do like crocheting or knitting or different fiber arts and just like hang out and talk. So there are different types of groups. There's meetups that are based around sharing a meal. We have a men's breakfast group that meets, that's member run. We have another event that's called Dinners for 8. Dinners for 8 is where this was an initiative of a member who did Dinners for 8 at a different church and brought it to ours. But he basically, anybody who wants to go to Dinners for 8 gives them his name, or gives him their name. And then he just breaks them up into groups of 8, and they're host houses. And so it's basically like a little potluck dinner where the host provides the main course, and then the guests bring like salad, dessert, wine, whatever. And so it's just like a little dinner party for 8 people, but builds community, it builds connection. There are shared interest groups, like I said, the game group or the poetry group. We also have spiritual groups. So we have a Full Circle group, which is a nature-based like pagan group. We have the mindfulness practice group. We have a theist group. And we also have a humanist group. So people who believe in God or people who have more of a humanist philosophy. We also have a play group that was started by a congregant. And we have several support groups that were started by congregants. Our divorce support group was started by a congregant, and we have a grief support group that was started by a congregant. So encourage folks to, if they're passionate about something, encourage them to take the lead. You don't have to feel like you need to be organizing all of the programming. And then also shared work creates connection. So help congregants engage in volunteer and social justice work. Our church is really dedicated to social justice work, and I think that working alongside others, and even now we have one of the new groups we have is called Defending Our Democracy, and they're doing all sorts of things to do phone calls and postcards and just, marches, and being in community and feeling like you're working toward a common cause or toward a greater good it really helps to build connection and community. So help get your folks involved. I really encourage new folks to get involved in the Radical Welcome team, because greeting, ushering, it's really just you have to have a warm smile and be able to say, welcome and orient folks. But it's an easy thing for brand new folks to get involved in. But it also connects to getting to know your congregants and connecting with them. So the more you know them, the more you'll be able to tell what their interests are and get them connected with activities and events that match their interest. So now let's hear from Jamie on how she connected with UUCA through shared work.
Hi, I'm Jamie Hudson-Craig, and I found this fellowship in January of 2025, and I'm so grateful I did. It was a really hard time in my personal life, and I needed a place that I could not just fellowship, but also roll up my sleeves and serve. And so I came. It's 10 minutes from my house, so I'm blessed that way. And I was able to jump right in. And one of the things that got me here, one of the reasons I visited, was because of how this congregation really puts hands and feet to the words they say. So I appreciated that so much and was able to help with the winter relief program right away. And it's just been a beautiful thing to find connection so close to home.
So make it easy for your congregants to get involved. One thing that we do is an event called Engage UUCA. It happens at the kickoff of the church year, so in September. And when I started this event, I think this was originally called a volunteer fair, and it had maybe 10 tables that participated. And I took it on 3.5 years ago, and now I think the last one we had 58 tables participate, 58 different groups. So people can walk around. All the tables have snacks, so you can go around and taste all the little snacks, and just talk to people and get information about getting involved in the different groups. So that's just one thing we do, but really throughout the year, clear communication is super important. Making sure that people are informed about how to get involved. So one thing and a growing edge for us is working on Realm. And so Realm has that news feed. It has registration events and calendar of events. We also have an e-newsletter, as I mentioned. We have the news week that we hand out. And then we have the connection card where people can check on the Engage section and get more information about upcoming events. We also have that Pearl guide that I gave to the new visitor in the video that gives information about groups and activities going on. So make it easy for folks to get involved. And if you're doing all of this well, you'll have congregants that feel like Jay. He's an example of someone who started with Coffee and Conversations, but has now become much more deeply engaged in the church.
So part of being a member of the UU Church for me is to be part of a community. And I really wanted to get involved as much as possible. And our membership engagement makes that incredibly possible. The number of different groups that are available to allow somebody who was new like me to interact with people it was amazing. The first thing that I ended up doing was going to Coffee and Conversations every Thursday. And it was just an informal meeting of people from the church that would all get together and have coffee. We would talk and kind of get to know each other a little bit. We have glows and glums where we kind of check in and let people know what we're happy about, what we're sad about. And that was a way to start to build the sense of community that I was looking for. And then I also started going to the men's breakfast every 2 weeks. And that was just another way for me to start meeting more people. That was a more regular group of men that would get together. We didn't have anything formal that we did. We would just eat and kind of talk. And I started to meet a lot of people doing that. Dinners for 8 is another one of the activities that our church has, where we kind of randomly throw people together to have dinner at different people's houses, and you don't know who's going to be coming to dinner until they show up. And it's it really works out way better than I thought it would. The people that show up are usually you get to learn a lot more about somebody when they actually come to your house and have a meal, or you go to their house and have a meal. And I found that was really rewarding too. So overall, if you're looking for community and you want to get involved, I found that the UU Church in Annapolis certainly offered me all of those opportunities.
So, a little note, this is a picture of my small group chalice circle. So in addition to having those large group chalice circles, we also have these small group chalice circles. And chalice circles, I think these little ones are important for building kind of deeper connections. Ours are neighborhood based primarily. So it's building connections with folks who live somewhat nearby you. And now we'll hear from Kara about her experience with chalice circles.
Also really loved joining the chalice circles in my neighborhood. I think, well, the main reason I joined UUCA was to find people who have similar values as me. And so knowing that there are people who literally live just 2 minutes from my house, can walk to my house, has just made me feel even more part of the community. Just being able to know that there are members of my UUCA that are in my neighborhood.
So, so make it easy to join. This is kind of the next big idea. But when I first started at our church, you had to, when I joined our church actually, there were 8 classes. They had this Inquirer series, and there were 8 classes, and you had to take 6 of these 8 classes in order to join the church. And if you missed one, you had to wait till it was offered again. Sometimes it would take like a couple months, and if you weren't free that day, then it was just a huge barrier to joining. And so when I started, at first we were doing 2 membership classes. We did one that was called, we changed it from being 8 to just 2. You had to do one that was called Exploring UU, which was about what is Unitarian Universalism just as a faith. And then the other one was called Pathway to Membership, which was, how are we living into our UU values at UUCA, and how to get involved, and what are the kind of benefits and expectations of membership. In the last year, we actually decided to take it down to just 1 membership class. We felt like the Exploring UU class was a lot of talking at people. And so instead of doing that class, we provide videos that we invite folks to watch prior to the class. And then the beginning of the class, we do check-ins. It's a 2-hour class. We do check-ins. We do 30 minutes where we discuss, see if anybody has any questions about the Exploring UU portion of it. And a minister does come to that to answer the questions that have to do with theology. And then the last hour we spend talking about kind of membership, how to get involved, and the benefits and expectations of membership. And so I just wanted to close out this little part about joining with this tiny little clip from Lori. Lori was actually watching me film other people on a Sunday, and this was actually only the second time that she's participated in our church. You can see she doesn't even have a regular name tag. She still has her paper name tag, but she pulled me over and she's like, "Laura, I want to share. Can I share?" And I was like, "Sure, Lori, go for it." So let's hear from Lori.
Hi, I'm Lori Sanford, and I was welcomed by Laura. I have never felt so welcome in a church in my life. I spent 13 years in the Episcopalian Church and never felt as welcome as I do here. So I'm coming back. I'm going to become a member.
There's a couple more slides. This isn't exactly them. There's just a couple more, but there is a connection card that I made for you for this session, and Ryan is going to post the link in the chat for us. So this is a virtual connection card. When we do a connection card in our own services, we do a paper connection card, the one that I showed, but we also have a link that we provide in the chat for folks to fill out. So if you do, if you're not connected with us already, I know some of you attended this session already at General Assembly, but if you are not already on our contact list and you would like to be, or you'd like follow-up documents, like I can send you a copy, an example of the connection card, and some other information. Fill out the connection card and that will get you connected with us. And then I also really encourage you, as I said, to learn more about UUAMP and join UUAMP. If you fill out your connection card, I can send you information about that. UUAMP is the UU Association for Membership Professionals. It's wonderful. They do a professional development day prior to the General Assembly every year, and they have those Monday chats. I know that I'm only going to have a little time for questions, but a lot of these questions, if you want to be connected with me, fill out the connection card, and then I can connect with you. Um, so uh, so definitely come to Monday chats. If you, I know I'm not going to get to all the questions that are here, but I do really try hard to attend Monday chats when I can. And not only, if you have questions, not only will you get answers from me, but also from a whole bunch of other really experienced and wonderful membership professionals. And so if you fill out your connection card, I will send you a link to so that you can get involved with UUAMP and the Monday chats. And then I just want to emphasize to you as some kind of closing notes to commit to creating a culture of a connection. I know congregations vary widely in size and resources and culture. And my hope is that you'll take from this session what feels most useful and adaptable for your unique context. Please don't feel the pressure to implement everything all at once. And make it that meaningful, lasting change takes time. And so be patient with yourself, and also do what you can. At UUCA, it took about 6 or 7 months before our congregants got into the rhythm of filling out the connection card regularly. Culture shift doesn't happen overnight. In my experience, congregational change is a lot like moving a barge. It can feel slow and heavy at first, but if you stay persistent and committed to the vision, it will move, and you will see that change happening. The culture and this welcome that these prospective members and members are talking about, that energy that is in our congregation, it was developed over time through training people, through preparing our environment, through inviting and connecting. And so be patient with yourself and take time in implementing these things that you think will be useful for you. And now we're going to hear from Reverend John.
Hey everybody, it's Reverend John at the Unitarian Universalist Church of Annapolis. I know you're enjoying this workshop. I get to experience Laura every week. And let me just say, we have become so much more welcoming. We were always welcoming, but it's gone to another level. We've gone to another level with our welcoming and our connecting. Why? Because we are in a time where people are feeling lonely, people are wanting to connect. And so we are making sure we're being intentional about that connection. From the time they walk through the door, we get a lot of people through our doors, to the time they leave, to the time they reconnect during the week. We're making sure we're staying connected. These ideas are working. We've grown, you've already heard, by over 88 people. It's probably a record in our church. And so I want to encourage you to implement these things and be serious about it, because people need our message right now. I also want to give.
So my final note is to encourage you to think about how investing in membership is worth it. If you're listening to this presentation and thinking, oh, my congregation can't afford this, or we don't have money for all these things, I challenge you to dream big and start small. It costs just $260 to buy five $5 coffee cards each week for a year. That's it. And so with just one new member pledging, you can probably cover the cost of an entire year's coffee cards for welcome gifts. If you're thinking you can't afford to hire a membership professional, start with your most dedicated volunteers and grow the position as your congregation grows. When I began this work, I was hired at just 15 hours a week. And as our congregation has grown, so has the investment in member engagement. I think that our church, I'm really proud of our church in seeing how effective our membership team has been and investing in us. So we went from 15 hours a week with just me, 15 hours a week. I went up to 20 hours a week. Then I went to 25 hours a week with a 15-hour-a-week assistant. And now I'm at 25 hours a week and I have a 25-hour-a-week assistant. And so that investment that the church is putting into membership is reflective, is reflected in the growth and the change that we're having. So you don't need to start big, even if you start with volunteers or with somebody who is just a few hours a week. One thing that happened in our congregation that I just want to lift up is that when I was 15 hours a week and I was saying how I didn't have enough time to do the things I wanted to go to 20 hours a week. The other minister that was here prior was like, well, why don't you just get a volunteer to do coffee and conversations? Because I facilitate both coffee and conversations and the Gen XYZ meetup. And the thing is that with coffee and conversations, if I really try hard to be at church on Sundays. I occasionally take a Sunday off, but I really try to be present on Sundays. And part of that is because if you have just volunteers staffing your greeting, and they're rotating through, so this one does the first Sunday of a month, this one does the second Sunday of the month. If you have somebody who attends the church and they feel like super welcome and they have a great time and they come back the second time, if there's a totally different greeter there, they're not going to feel known or recognized. Whereas me, because it is my job, I am meeting those people. I'm seeing their name. I'm seeing it on the connection cards. So by the time they come back to church the next Sunday, they can walk in the door and I can say, oh, hey, Janet, it's so great to see you. Or even if I say, oh, it's so great to see you again. Remind me of your name. Just be authentic, but having somebody who is dedicated helps people to feel known and recognized. Also, with coffee and conversations, people will show up and are a little tentative if they're brand new. And so for you to know them, to have somebody who is dedicated to knowing people, to be able to recognize someone and say, oh, hey, we're over here. Oh, Noreen, it's so great to see you. It's comforting to them. Actually, like when I was at GA, I wasn't able to go to coffee and conversations. And there was a first-time visitor that had come to coffee and conversations. And she had actually told me the Sunday before she was coming. And I introduced her to the volunteer that was covering for me so that she would know who to look for. She came to coffee and conversations, did not see the group. The volunteer that was doing it, who's wonderful, just wasn't used to kind of having her head on a swivel watching for visitors, and they missed each other. And so having somebody who's dedicated to knowing people and investing in that really, really makes a huge difference. And it's too much to ask a volunteer to do. So I think it makes every single hour worth it, because this work isn't just about welcoming visitors and getting them to sign the book. It's about connecting with all congregants, because congregants who are loved and supported they stay in their congregation. If you're doing this work with volunteers, make it your goal to grow your membership enough to bring in a paid membership coordinator. A dedicated membership professional brings continuity, presence, and commitment. It's disorienting for a visitor to walk into a new space where they don't know anyone, but it's grounding when someone remembers their name, welcomes them back, and helps them to find their place. If your welcome team rotates every week, this is kind of reemphasizing what I said, but I'll just read it anyway. If your welcome team rotates every week, and if there are different volunteers covering Sundays and coffee during the week, there's no consistent thread of connection. A membership professional becomes the thread, someone visitors can recognize, rely on, and connect with. I'm mentioned by new members in these videos so often because I'm typically the first person that they bond with. As new folks become more integrated into church life, they lean less on me, which creates space for me to support and welcome a new wave of visitors and newcomers. A membership professional is also a support to all congregants, new and seasoned. They know they can reach out to me to get connected and to have questions answered. And if I don't have the answer, I will follow up with my congregants. My whole congregation knows that they can connect with me if they need help with anything. This wraparound support that membership professionals provide is why member engagement deserves real investment. It is just as vital to congregational life as religious education, and yet too often it's overlooked. This is my second in-person GA, and I'm struck by how little visibility or recognition the UUA offers membership professionals. Just imagine what national membership growth could look like if the UUA invested more intentionally in this work. What if grants and consulting were available to help congregations hire their first membership professionals? What if we developed a comprehensive professional development and accreditation program for this field? What if we treated membership as a cornerstone of congregational health rather than an afterthought? Just imagine if in 3.5 years, every UU congregation worldwide grew by 43%. In these dangerous and uncertain times, as fascism gains ground and fear threatens to isolate us, people are searching for places of sanctuary, places where they can show up fully and be embraced just as they are. Unitarian Universalists, let's meet this moment and combat hate and fear with the power of love, connection, and community. Let's invest in this sacred work together. And so that is the end of the presentation. And oh my goodness, it went right almost to the minute to be 2 hours. I saw that there were a bunch of questions in the chat, and I'm sorry that there's not enough time for me to get to those. But I'm so thankful that you're all here. And if you do have questions and you want more information, unfortunately, because I'm only 25 hours a week in my position, it's very difficult for me to connect one-on-one with people. After GA, I was flooded with all sorts of emails from folks, and I would love to be able to take the time to individually write back to people, but I just really don't have the capacity to do that. But if you do have questions that you'd like answered, please come to the Monday chats, the UU Monday chats. If you filled out your connection card, I will send you the link for that. And not only can you ask me questions, but you can also get your questions answered by so many wonderful seasoned membership professionals. So I'm going to close off there just to be respectful of everyone's time. And I am so grateful to all of you and the work that you're doing. Just showing up here shows your dedication to membership and member engagement. And I love this work so much. And I'm really excited to continue this conversation with you at the Monday chats. So thank you so much.